Hello everyone and welcome to another Bootstrap lesson. In this lesson we'll learn how to use the grid and what the grid in Bootstrap is. So I'm pretty sure that you already saw in different devices and websites, when you open websites, you see different columns or sections that, as I have here in this example, we have column, another column, and another column. Okay, so as soon as we change the dimension of the browser, automatically these columns will be stacked on top one of another, as you can see here. Okay, and this basically helps you create websites or responsive websites with sections for the different devices. Okay, so they can fit in different monitor sizes. So this is what you will learn in this lesson and how to use this. It's pretty simple. So let's open the code from the last video on our Sublime Text Editor, and you can now collapse the head tags. Okay, so we can have everything more organized and clean. Now here, let me just type hello world to start. And let me save this. And let's run this here, and there it is. Okay, so instead of hello world, let's change this. Let's call this the grid system. And down here, in order to start creating columns, and that's how we will work with the grid system. It works with columns and rows. So first we must start with the div class container. So let's create div class container. And inside this container, we're going to put the rows and columns. The columns must be wrapped in row elements. Okay, so, and this will ensure that everything has the correct padding and format. So let's create a div with class equals row. Okay, now depending on the layout of your page, you will use a different number of columns for each section. So let's start with 2 columns first, or 2 sections. So let's create 2 div classes, and let's call them col LG 2 and let's copy this. Let's create other one here, another one, and now let's call this let's put it see col 1 and col 2. Okay, so let me save this and let's refresh, and there we have it. Okay, column 1 and column 2. Okay, if we stretch it, you see that column 1 and column 2 will now be next to each other. If the browser is shorter, it will stack on top one of another. Okay, now in order to see this more clearly, let's give this a style or background color. So let's type style equals background color, and let's type lavender. And here, let's give a style of background color lavender blush. Okay, let's save this. Let's refresh it here. And lavender. So let's save this, refresh. Okay, there it is. So now you can see with the background color, the columns will basically be one on top of another when they have no more space. Now let's say I want a smaller first section or a smaller column 1 and a larger column 2. You can change that directly on the class itself. On the name of the class, you can type here 1, and let's put, for example, 10 here. This means 1 column, and this will mean that the second section will have 10 columns. Let's put a 2 here instead. Let's save this. Let's refresh it, and if you enlarge the browser, you'll see that you have the second column a lot larger than the first one. Okay, this is how you can create and control by the class name the size of your sections or columns. Now remember, this adds all in the total of 12 columns. As you can see, I'm using 12 columns, okay, 10 and 2, but you can do something different like this. Let's add a new one here, and let's type here 6, and here I can put 4, and then 2. Okay, save this and refresh it. Okay, so now if we put this, let's change the background there. Yeah, a lot better. So now you can see the different sizes of the full 12 total columns that you can use, okay, divided in 3. Now it's up to you if you want to use 4 different sections, 5, 6, 7, okay, and until the total of 12 sections. And each one of the sections, how many columns you want to expand to. Now you can see that there's a fixed width, and we have some space here on the left and the right. In order to change that and make the columns reach the border of the browser and cover the total area, we change this to container fluid. Okay, refresh here, and now you'll see that everything, all the columns will cover the whole area of the browser or the web page. You can also offset columns, which is really cool and really good feature on the grid system. Let me show an example. Let's take out the fluid. This would be a fixed grid without the fluid. So let's create here a new div. And here let's create a new div, and let's give it a class of col LG2, and let's type here offset 1, and let's give it a style of gray. Okay, so let's save this, refresh it. I just forgot to put a class here. We need to put a class of row. Let's save this and refresh. Okay, now we have everything aligned here. Okay, so the offset is here, And you can change in the second row, you can change the offset to whatever column you want. Okay, to do that, just type here col LG offset and the number of columns we want to move the offset to the right. Okay, so basically it's pretty similar like padding on the left side to the right side. So if we refresh it, there it is. Okay, we have moved 2 columns, the section offset 1 to the right. If we type, for example, let's type 10 and save this, you will see that we have pushed all the way through to the right the offset 1 section. Okay. Now this is how you use the main features of the grid system. Now you have noticed that I'm using always col LG and 6 as the class name. Now this has a meaning. Col stands for columns, okay? And as you noticed, 6 or the number 42 is the number of columns. Now LG stands for the viewport size you want to create those columns for. So in my case, or in this case, LG stands for larger desktops. And because the grid system is responsive, it has various styles for different viewport sizes. It has one for medium-sized devices, for small devices. So in order to show you this more effectively, I'm going to show you in the browser. I'm using Chrome. If we do inspect element, you'll see that we have at the top right corner, we have the amount or the size in pixels of the window, right? And you see that as soon as we reach 1200 pixels, it changes the layout. Okay, so this is the different sizes that there are right now on devices. At 1200 it changes, and then at let me see, at 900 pixels changes it again. That's it. Okay, so it changes at 1200 and 900, and all these changes are called, as soon as we reach the 1200, it's called the breakpoint. Okay, which changes all the layout of the website. You even have an amazing feature on Google Chrome, which is this icon here, more like an iPhone. If you click it, you'll have all the different sizes that you want to try your website on. So let's say I want to see how my website is presented on an Apple iPhone 5. There it is. Okay, or on Google Nexus or Optimus L17. So you can try all these devices and see how your website is presented there. Okay, if you want to give different columns for different sizes, you can type, let's say I want this section to cover 6 columns in larger devices, but I want this to cover only 3 columns in medium devices. So to do that, we type MD for medium and then 3. Okay, so you have medium, and what about extra small or small devices like the smartphones? So this would be col XS, and then let's type 1 column. So this section for larger screens would be 6 columns, or it would cover 6 columns. For the medium devices would cover 3 columns, and for the small or extra small devices would cover 1 column. Or you can put it the same columns. It's up to the layout you are creating. Okay, so this is commonly used when you need to change to different layouts for the different devices. Okay, so this is all for the grid, and if you got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me.